Test positive for COVID-19.
And in sports, the Waterford Wildcats girls basketball team are state champs. Newswatch starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Joe Collins.
And I'm Jack Demler. Welcome to Newswatch, your source for all news impacting southeastern Ohio. Today was the first day back from spring break for the Athens City Schools. Like many districts around the country, they've dealt with a substantial bus driver shortage this year. Will Price has more on what they're doing to solve the problem by next fall.
You got to have both hands on the wheel. That's the number one rule.
Athens City School bus driver Dakota Griggs spent the last day of spring break teaching instead of driving.
You're doing good. You're doing good. You're doing real good now, see?
This Try to Drive a Bus event is part of the district's effort to manage a bus driver shortage it's been dealing with this school year. It's a nationwide problem. A national poll in August found over half of the school districts in the U.S. said their shortage was severe or desperate. In Athens, the district needs at least 4 new drivers to make things easier.
It's been a challenge for every driver's been affected by it, doubling up and having to change your route and stuff. But
Griggs came up with the idea in hopes of giving him and the staff some relief. 7 people showed up at Athens High School for the tryouts, including Hayden Shores.
I'm excited. I'm ready to go.
Shores is a driver for Athens Transit and said fond memories of his childhood bus driver helped push him to come. He says the importance of professions like bus or truck driving can't be understated.
We rely on this transportation and the semi-industry to live.
This tryout is just the first step in the process for Hayden and others to become Athens City Schools' newest bus driver. They still have to undergo weeks of training before they can get behind the wheel of a bus like this.
well, next they need to get their permit, because they have to have a permit for us to be able to train with them on board. They got to get a background check and a drug test.
Griggs says they hope to have some of those that tried out driving for the district next school year. And Shores says he looks forward to the opportunity.
And it's kind of like the unsung hero, you know? If that bus wasn't there, if that person wasn't driving that bus, those kids wouldn't be able to go to practice, those kids wouldn't be able to go to that game or just get to school.
For Newswatch, I'm Will Price in Athens.
To become a bus driver in Ohio, you need a commercial driver's license and at least 15 hours of training on the road. Those interested can contact Athens City Schools for more information. Authorities say a man who was shot and wounded by police on Interstate 71 will face an attempted aggravated murder charge. Columbus police say 21-year-old Jonathan Myers was firing at northbound vehicles at Delaware County around 10 a.m. on Friday. According to authorities, 3 vehicles were hit. A police spokesperson says Myers was taken into the hospital in critical condition but is now stable. A bill which removes the requirement for people to get a license and training before carrying a concealed weapon is still in limbo, as Governor Mike DeWine considers the issue. The legislation strips the required 8 hours of training and license to carry a concealed firearm. Pro-gun groups have been lobbying for Governor DeWine to sign the bill, while gun regulation groups have been urging him to veto it. Law enforcement groups are also opposed to the bill. DeWine says if he is listening to all those involved, but adds the final decision comes down to him. The governor pushed for gun regulation in the wake of the 2019 mass shooting in Dayton, but in the election year, this issue may be less of a priority. A decision on the bill is due tomorrow, March 15th. If DeWine does not veto, the legislation can still go into effect without his signature. But the bill did not pass the House by a veto-proof majority.
Good afternoon, I'm your lead forecaster, Erin Ashley. Looking at the skies above right now, you can see that right and through the early afternoon, not much is happening in our region. That's because of that spring-like conditions we've seen due to a high pressure that's dominating over our region. I'll talk about that more later on in my full forecast, but for right now, just smooth sailing throughout the day. Absolutely beautiful day. It's been very fair, high in the temperature, of 63 degrees, partly cloudy skies because of those brief clouds we saw moving in, but that will not stir up any trouble as we head throughout the evening tonight. And looking at the temperature for today, we actually reached a high of 61 degrees, and temperatures are supposed to get a little close to freezing tonight, so you'll definitely want to grab your coat as you head out the door tonight. But overall, it's been a very beautiful day. Hopefully you've been out enjoying the weather, and actually tomorrow I'll talk about in my full forecast how we can expect spring-like conditions through the majority of the week. Jack?
Thanks, Aaron. A federal judge has set a January 2023 trial date in the racketeering conspiracy case against former Ohio House Speaker Larry Householder. Householder is accused of leading a $60 million bribery scheme secretly funded by an Akron-based First Energy Corporation in hopes to win legislation approval of a $1 billion bailout of 2 nuclear plants. The plants were operated by a wholly owned First Energy subsidiary when the bailout was first approved in 2019. Householder has pleaded not guilty and argued the charge should be dismissed as legally invalid, a move which is opposed by federal prosecutors. Federal Judge Timothy Black set jury selection for January 20th and the trial for January 23rd.
President Obama contracts COVID-19. And an update on getting children 5 and younger vaccinated. These stories and more when Newswatch returns.
We're heading toward the ground at race car speeds.
A planet millions of miles away.
We get one chance, we have no opportunity to fix it, and it has to work the very first time.
A mission to answer the ultimate question.
You want to have a nice, pristine sample without any earth contamination.
Are we alone?
The payoff is we could maybe bring back fossil Martian cells.
Looking for life on Mars, on Nova.
This month in Passport on the PBS Video app, your on-demand library for the best of PBS.
Jeans are the quintessential American garment.
By getting video footage, we might be able to unravel this mystery and figure out what they're doing.
Really think you can cross the entire globe in just 80 days?
Certainly, madame, or die trying.
These and other shows are available with Passport on the PBS Video app. Download it today.
On expedition.
I'm in Oman. Whoa, that is a long way down. Where me and a team of experts will descend through a canyon that no human has explored before.
Flash flood through here right now would be the most dangerous thing in this canyon.
This is not the place to be trapped.
I'm burning through the ropes.
Ow! This is incredible. This is not on any map, there's no guidebook. This feels like I've just uncovered some extraordinary treasure.
This is a special cub, chosen for life in the wild. But preparing a captive-born panda to roam free isn't easy. Little is known about wild panda life. Meet the dedicated team who spent years shedding light on the wild world this little panda will face.
Welcome back. The 20th River City Blues Festival returned this weekend to the Lafayette Hotel in Marietta after a 2-year hiatus due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This year's lineup of performers includes many who planned to perform in the 2020 festival before the event was canceled by the Blues, Jazz, and Folk Music Society as the pandemic began. Event organizer Peggy Bolin tells the Marietta Times the performers have remained on retainer for the last 2 years, even though the festival itself was canceled in 2020 and 2021. The festival is scheduled for March 18th through March 19th. A former chief executive officer of the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium is agreeing to repay thousands of dollars after an audit on the zoo. The Columbus Zoo's board of directors announced on Friday they have approved a settlement with former CEO Thomas Stolf for $400,000. A settlement with the former CEO comes after an audit of the zoo found improper spending and questionable business practices cost the zoo more than $630,000. Stolf's attorney says Stolf agreed to pay back the money so he can move on with his life, but alleges he was made a scapegoat. Former President Barack Obama announced that he tested positive for COVID-19 on Sunday. According to a tweet from his official account, Obama said he feels fine other than having a scratchy throat. The former president hopes his case will be served as a reminder for everyone to get vaccinated if they haven't been already. Other pandemic updates have come out which could affect your life. Amy Keeley reports on what you need to know.
Some big news involving COVID-19 research could affect you and your family. The first update is Pfizer says you might need another booster.
The protection that you're getting from the third, it is good enough, actually quite good for hospitalizations and deaths. It's not that good against infections, but doesn't last very long.
If you've got children, these next two items are for you. Pfizer says it hopes to have a COVID-19 treatment available for most kids before they head back to school this fall. It would be a version of its antiviral pill Paxlovid. Right now, it's only approved for those 12 or older who are at a high risk of serious infection. Also, if your kids are younger than 5, here's the latest on getting them vaccinated.
Potentially May, if it works, FDA I'm sure will do their utmost to review them fast. And we will be ready with manufacturing.
This work to advance vaccine and treatment options comes as former President Barack Obama says he's tested positive. So have several House Democrats who went on a retreat last week. And here's one last COVID-19 update for you. The U.S. is now starting its 3rd year of the pandemic.
I can date exactly what happened around this time 2 years ago, from the declaration of the pandemic, from the school closures on March 13th, from our first case on March 14th, our closure for St. Patty's Day that we announced on the 16th.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
A little more than half of Athens County residents are fully vaccinated according to the Ohio Department of Health. The statewide vaccination in Ohio is only 57%. Russian forces continue to hit military bases in cities like Lviv. Russia begins asking for assistance from China. That story's still ahead.
And I'm tracking our next weather maker and my full forecast, but for now, take a look at stocks of local interest.
Toward the ground at race car speeds.
A planet millions of miles away.
We get one chance, we have no opportunity to fix it, and it has to work the very first time.
A mission to answer the ultimate question.
You want to have a nice, pristine sample without any earth contamination.
Are we alone?
The payoff is we could maybe bring back fossil Martian cells.
Looking for life on Mars on Nova.
For millions of years, the Burren has accumulated clues for us to interpret. Stories emerge from the black depths of the past into the light of the present. These stones can speak because an ear is there to listen.
This bone, it just changed Irish human history and presence on our little island forever.
This is a special cub, chosen for life in the wild. But preparing a captive-born panda to roam free isn't easy. Little is known about wild panda life. Meet the dedicated team who spent years shedding light on the wild world this little panda will face.
I think any woman that's piloted a plane in the air has the same trait. They've got that look in their eyes. When you see someone, you know they've been a pilot, you know they've been up there, they know they've seen what the world has to offer from an entirely different view from everybody else. So did the early pilots have that? Absolutely. Were they daredevils? Yes. Are the pilots today daredevils? Not all of them, but they certainly know what it feels like to get up there and fly.
Newswatch, let's take a look again what's happened over the weekend. We started off really chilly actually, so if we're looking at the movable chromo, what's going on right now, looking at the weather right now, it's Earlier today, we started off really chilly early off in the morning, and we quickly warmed up from 46 all the way to 63 degrees by even as soon as 6 p.m. So overall, it's been a very transitional day as far as the temperature goes, and this is because of a high pressure system that's been moving through our area. And looking at the live satellite right now, you can see that there really isn't much happening over our region. Maybe seeing a stray cloud or two over our heads right now, but that is not expected to bring any sort of chaos as we head throughout the night tonight. Overall, been a very beautiful day, and we're actually tracking some clouds that are going to move in as soon as Tuesday. But again, this is expected to weaken as that high pressure will dominate. And looking at tonight, the nightly low is going to be 32 degrees. It's going to be very cold starting out, but mostly clear. And tomorrow, the sun is expected to rise as soon as 7:37 in the morning. So if you're heading out early on the bus, make sure you grab that coat as you head out. And this is because of some surface features that are heading through the region right now. So you can see there's really not much happening in Athens right now, but you can see that these low pressure systems are going to start moving in as soon as tomorrow, bringing some rain towards our west. But overall, this high pressure right here is going to move up, and it's actually going to start to dominate. And so all those clouds are going to move out, leading to some beautiful weather again tomorrow. A high tomorrow is going to be 63 degrees, and then the temperature for tomorrow night is going to be as low as 36 degrees. Not as cold as tonight, thankfully, but that is to be expected as we move throughout the week because of that high pressure. Again, it's going to be partly sunny tomorrow. Very beautiful spring-like weather. And looking at the 3-day outlook, you can see that on Tuesday, again, 63 degrees is going to be your high, and partly sunny skies are just going to persist. It's going to be a beautiful week ahead of us as temperatures reach 68 degrees on Wednesday, and then they're going to rise even to 70s for parts of our region on Thursday. Overall, going to be very beautiful weekend. Unfortunately, not the case. That's because of that cold front that we are starting to see that it's going to move from the north down into our region, but it's going to bring a 60% chance of rain later in the day on Friday. A high of 70 is expected, but again, it's going to be pretty gloomy heading into Saturday. It's going to be 50% chance of rain, and that cold front is going to cool us down, unfortunately. 56 degrees is going to be the high on Saturday, but conditions are going to start to dry out again by Sunday with a high of 60 degrees. Mostly sunny skies. And looking at the 7-day forecast, you can see that we are expecting that warm up as soon as Wednesday. It's going to reach close to 70 degrees, 68 degrees is the high, and moving into the weekend, expect a chance for some rain. I'll throw it back over to you guys.
Thanks, Erin. Russia is expanding its offensive to the western part of Ukraine and striking regions closer to NATO member territory, all while Russia denies reports that it asked China for assistance. Chris Wynn is tracking all the developments.
Chaos and devastation as Russia intensifies its assault on Ukraine. Russian missiles hit a large military base near the western city of Lviv, killing at least 35 people and leaving more than 130 injured, according to local authorities. The attack not far from Poland, drawing the war even closer to the borders of a NATO country. Russian forces also opening fire on 2 American journalists, killing one while wounding the other, according to Kyiv police.
We crossed a checkpoint and they start shooting at us. So the driver turned around and they kept shooting.
In Kyiv, there have been heavy explosions and multiple casualties after authorities say a residential building in the Ukrainian capital was hit by shelling.
Sick kids fleeing on makeshift medical trains. The unthinkable bombing of a maternity ward. Parents weeping over their children's broken bodies in the streets.
U.S. officials say Russia has asked China for military support, including drones, as well as economic assistance. Both countries deny the request was made.
We will not stand by and allow any country to compensate Russia for its losses from the economic sanctions.
Meanwhile, the 4th round of talks between Ukraine and Russia were put on hold until Tuesday. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will give a virtual address to Congress on Wednesday. In Washington, I'm Chris Wynn reporting.
The Chinese ambassador to the U.S. expressed their concern for the Ukraine situation and says China has and will provide humanitarian assistance to Ukraine.
The suicide rate among active duty service members in the U.S. military increased by more than 41% between 2015 and 2020, according to the Department of Defense. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin called the findings, which came out last fall, troubling. One expert says there are ways family and friends can help members of the military who may be struggling with thoughts of suicide. Mandy Gaither has more on ways to help veterans.
It's a disturbing trend, active duty military members taking their own lives.
A lot of the strategies that have been employed over the past few decades to prevent and reduce military suicides, by and large, have not worked.
Craig Bryan is a veteran himself. The clinical psychologist serves as director of the suicide prevention program at Ohio State University's Wexner Medical Center. He says even when military members aren't deployed, they face stressors that others don't.
Service members often move very frequently every few years, so it often separates them from family members, from support networks.
To support members of the military, be aware, Bryan says many people who are suicidal make statements that raise concerns.
These are things such as, I can't take this anymore. I can't imagine anyone being able to stand this pain. No one can help me solve my problems. People would be better off without me.
Bryan says the next important thing to do is listen. He says we've got to shift the dialogue around suicide.
Suicide's hard to talk about. When someone is experiencing suicidal thoughts, they oftentimes will experience a lot of shame. They're worried about how other people will react or respond to them.
Bottom line, Bryan says family and friends should be there to offer support.
And through increased connectedness, we can actually prevent suicide.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Since research shows firearms are the primary method of suicide for service members, experts say locking up or securing guns can stop a person from acting impulsively. To get help, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. There is also a crisis text line. For crisis support in Spanish, call 1-888-628-9454. A study found a dramatic rise in suicidal ingestions among pre-adolescent kids from 2000 through 2020. Ingestions could involve medications or other substances and were categorized as intentional misuse, intentional abuse, or intentional suspected suicide. The researchers said all groups older than 9 years old showed an increase in suicidal ingestions. But the change in those ages 10 to 12 years was the most significant. The group that saw a more than quadruple increase. The researchers said the reason for the suicidal increases are unclear, but noted social media platforms were launched around the same time as the increases were observed. The study was published Monday in the medical journal JAMA Pediatrics.
Coming up in sports, Ohio men's basketball will get another chance at tournament gameplay despite losing in the Mid-American Conference tournament. And right after the break, the Waterford Wildcat girls basketball team is state champs. Hear from the head coach when Newswatch returns. And be sure to stay tuned to WOUB. Here's a look at what's coming up tonight on your public television station.
Heading toward the ground at race car speeds.
A planet millions of miles away.
We get one chance, we have no opportunity to fix it, and it has to work the very first time.
A mission to answer the ultimate question.
You want to have a nice, pristine sample without any earth contamination.
Are we alone?
The payoff is we could maybe bring back fossil Martian cells.
Looking for life on Mars on Nova.
The unthinkable happened.
On Finding Your Roots, Broadway legends Audra McDonald.
Talk about respecting your elders. I respected them anyway, but...
And Mandy Patinkin.
I feel more alive from this journey.
Ancestors who thrived.
I'm so proud of him.
And those who were lost.
This is insanity.
Plus...
You want to meet your cousin?
I do. Are you kidding me?
Finding Your Roots.
This month in Passport on the PBS Video app, your on-demand library for the best of PBS.
Jeans are the quintessential American garment.
By getting video footage, we might be able to unravel this mystery and figure out what they're doing.
Really think you can cross the entire globe in just 80 days?
Certainly, madame, or die trying. These and other shows are available with Passport on the PBS Video app. Download it today.
on expedition.
I'm in Oman. Whoa, that is a long way down. Where me and a team of experts will descend through a canyon that no human has explored before. Flash flood through here right now would be the most dangerous thing in this canyon.
This is not the place to be trapped.
I'm burning through the ropes. Ow! This is incredible. This is not on any map. There's no guidebook. This feels like I've just uncovered some extraordinary treasure.
Welcome back. I'm Maria Manessi. The Waterford girls basketball team enters the week as state champs. Waterford earned the 35-26 victory after a dominant performance against New Knoxville. The Wildcats held the Rangers to 0 points in the first quarter and tallied 9 of its own. The Wildcats press helped shut down the Rangers throughout the game and led them to claim their first state title since 2016. Head coach Jerry Close talks about the impact of the seniors' leadership.
That goes back to great senior leadership. These guys pulling them along. If we don't have great senior leadership, none of this happens. You know, these guys have battled, like I said, for 4 years. Their sophomore year was miserable for them. We had, I think at that time, there were 7 of you then.
The seniors have been huge contributors to the Wildcats' success this year. Ohio men's basketball is not going dancing at the NCAA tournament this year. The Bobcats fell short of their second straight MAC tournament title. The Bobcats arrived in Cleveland on a 2-game skid, but picked up a win over Ball State in the MAC quarterfinals. Ohio's journey came to an end on Friday, though, as it fell to second-seeded Kent State Golden Flashes 67-61. Kent State eventually fell to Akron in Saturday's MAC championship game. The Bobcats have a 24-9 record, but did not receive an invite to the NIT. They will instead take a trip down to Daytona Beach for the College Basketball Invitational. Ohio is set to open up action Saturday as the number 3 seed. The Bobcats will face off against Rice. Tip-off is scheduled for 7:30 p.m. from Daytona. The winner faces either Abilene Christian or Troy on Sunday. Ohio women's basketball prepares for the women's NIT despite losing to Toledo in the MAC quarterfinals. The Bobcats lost to the Rockets 80-67 and trailed for much of the game. Erica Johnson led the Bobcats with 25 points and had 8 rebounds. Cece Hooks added another 22 points in her final game in Cleveland. Many thought Wednesday's was Hooks' last game as a Bobcat, but she will get at least one more chance to hit the court in the green and white. The Bobcats accepted an invitation to the women's NIT with a 15-14 record. It is the second straight season the Bobcats are playing in the tournament. Ohio is heading to Brookings, South Dakota to take on South Dakota State in the first round. Tip-off is scheduled for Thursday at 8 p.m. The winner faces either Minnesota or Green Bay. Ohio hockey season is over following elimination from the American Collegiate Hockey Association tournament. The Bobcats beat Niagara in the first round Friday and upset second-ranked Minot State Saturday. They weren't able to get the job done against Adrian, losing 7-1 last night. The second period was rough for Ohio as Adrian scored 4 goals and was able to get comfortable lead, and Ohio couldn't respond. The Bobcats' only goal came in the third period from Donnie Tehan. Ohio finishes its season with a record of 14-14-5. I'm Maria Manessi, and that's it for sports. Back to you, Erin, with a final look at weather.
Thank you, Maria. And speaking of sports, tomorrow's going to be a great day. You'll want to bust out the basketball, your football, the frisbee even. You're going to want to make sure you get outside. It's going to be a high of 63 degrees tomorrow. Partly sunny skies. It's going to get a little colder as we head throughout the night tomorrow. But again, tomorrow throughout the day, it's going to be absolutely beautiful. Here's a look at your weekend and a look at your week ahead. Expect some rain this weekend. Back to you, Jack.
Thanks, Aaron. Satisfaction guaranteed and Jumpin' Jack Flash 2. The Rolling Stones are returning to the road in Europe this summer. The 60 tour, which marks the legendary band's 6 decades in rock and roll, starts June 1st. Among the stops on this jaunt, Madrid, Liverpool, Milan, Paris, and the Stones' hometown of London. Steve Jordan will step in as the drummer after Charlie Watts died last year. The last time the Stones performed in the U.S. was 2021 as part of their No Filter tour. The Stones were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1989.
And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. I'm Joe Collins.
And I'm Jack Demler. Have a great night.
Support comes from Goldsberry Wealth Strategies in Athens and Parkersburg, focusing on helping people achieve a life well lived with a custom strategy. Information at goldsberrywealth.com. Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Support comes from the Center for Campus and Community Engagement at Ohio University and